Hi guys, my name is Steven and you're on the Steven Hall Outdoors YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of firearms. Got both of them here from different eras. This is my Regent 32 Smith & Wesson long 7-shot revolver. Commonly carried back in the 1960s and 70s. These could be found for right around 50 bucks. Now let's take a look at a more modern option, something that I personally carry on a regular basis. This here is my Canik TP9SF Elite. It is a 15-shot semi-automatic 9mm handgun. Now let's take a look between these two different cartridges. Let me know in the comments down below, which one would you rather carry? Obviously, you have an increased capacity with the Canik as opposed to your 7-shot revolver. But I just want to show you the difference between the two cartridges here. On the right, you've got the 32 Smith & Wesson long. It is a black powder propellant as opposed to a smokeless powder. And on the left, you've just got some cheap steel case range ammo 9mm. Ballistically, these are actually pretty similar rounds. But at the end of the day, I know which one I carry. With that being said, let's take a couple shots with these two revolvers. Or sorry, two handguns. And see what we think of both of them. Start out with the Regent 32 Smith & Wesson long. Now what you saw there was the way that this action works. This is both a double action revolver and a single action revolver. And what that means is I could fire this by just pulling the trigger and it gives me a longer, heavier, more deliberate trigger pull. Or I could fire this by cocking back the hammer and pulling the trigger after that is done. That's going to give you a shorter, more consistent, and lighter trigger pull if you're trying to be accurate, which with these snub-nose revolvers, not exactly what you're going for. These were what were called barroom guns or belly guns, meaning that they were meant to be stuck into someone's belly before the trigger was pulled. They weren't known for their accuracy, and they certainly weren't known for their debilitating knockdown power. Now with that being said, let's take a couple shots with my Canik here. Like I said, this is a 15 round 9mm. It's a compact handgun, but it's not a subcompact by any means. Very similar in size to your Glock 19. The recoil on this guy is really easy to tame, and it's something that, you know, most people are familiar with. And that's another thing we need to talk about here is ammunition cost. For the 32 Smith & Wesson long, you're looking at right around $60 for 50 rounds. And that's just for some of this lead round nose, range ammunition, nothing special. And a lot of that has to do with both the propellant and how it's not very popular nowadays. But again, back in the 1970s, this was something that was super popular and easy to find on the shelf. And once again, I would much rather have it than nothing. Now, as far as your 9mm, much easier to find nowadays. You have a much more reliable, I'd say, handgun overall because of the propellant being smokeless. But you also have a couple of other advantages, like obviously magazine capacity. And back in the 70s, yes, you had your 1911s, you had your Browning high powers, you know, a few of those semi-automatic options, but nothing that could be carried as concealed or be as compact as even something like this, which is, again, not exactly a micro compact. Let's take a look at the two rounds and a little bit of how they are downrange ballistically. All right, guys, so in terms of energy and knockdown power, the 32 Smith & Wesson long and the 9mm are actually very similar. Terminally, though, the 9mm performs just a little bit better, and a lot of that has to do with the length of the barrel. With this guy, you're looking at a 4 1/4 inch barrel, so you get a little more velocity out of it as opposed to your 2-inch snub nose that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this stump behind me with both of them. You're probably not going to be able to see a difference, but just to give you an idea of how big the smoke cloud is coming out of that black powder handgun, it'll be a lot of fun. accuracy wise, it's a lot easier to be accurate with a semi-automatic handgun like this, something that has a longer barrel, and at least for me, I'm a little more familiar with it, and most of you will be too. Now let's take a couple shots with this guy here. To get the best and most consistent trigger pull, I'm going to be taking these shots in single action, because with a dual action or a double action, it's a lot easier to pull off or be in a or pull the shot to the left or the right because of that longer trigger pull. Well, it looks like I'm out of ammo. Now, with that being said, I'm not sure if you can see behind the camera here, a lot of those rounds were actually landing to the left or the right of the stump here that I'm shooting at, and that has a lot to do with how short this barrel is and how inaccurate these can actually be. Now, a lot of that, again, has to do with the barrel length, but another big contributor to that is the cartridge itself. These are shooting 30 or 95 grain lead nose cartridges. It's really nothing special. And I just noticed when opening up my cylinder here, I actually have one round that hasn't been fired. And if you saw, I did pull the trigger at least 7 times since that first round. So with that being said, that kind of speaks to the reliability of these older handguns and these older cartridges. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger 7 more times just to see if, you know, maybe that was a fluke, the cylinder was out of timing or something. And I just want to see if it goes off. There's 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that being said, I mean, in a combat situation or in a fight or flight situation, I wouldn't mind having one extra round that decides it's just going to show up and be ready for me. But at the end of the day, once I get that first click, that's definitely not what I'm thinking about. Now, in terms of reloading, your revolver here is going to be a little bit quicker just because you have less shots. So you open the cylinder to the side, eject your shells, and then you're just going to take them out of your pocket or out of the box, slip them in the cylinder here, and you're ready to go. I actually don't know if I have a full cylinder's worth of ammunition, then that just speaks to the price of this ammunition. So with that being said, if you want to sponsor me in ammunition, I would certainly love it, and I will link my GoFundMe. Just kidding. No, I'll link my Venmo down in the description. So if you want to send me any money to help with ammunition or firearm costs for these videos, I would certainly appreciate it. Now let's go ahead. I've got 5 rounds left. Let's go ahead and shoot these 5 rounds here and just see how she does. I'm going to shoot them as quickly as possible, and we can compare the difference in the speed between the two firearms. So obviously, firing as quickly as I can there. I did have 2 open spots in the cylinder, so you saw 2 clicks there, but let me just make sure this is clear first. Yep. But this trigger pull here is not exactly ideal. I mean, you really got to pull it. And that has a lot to do with, obviously, this gun is really old. It's nothing compared to the new 38 double action concealed carry weapons that we see today. But back in the day, this is the option you had. You know, it's better than nothing, but I certainly wouldn't want to be carrying it. Let's go ahead and finish off the magazine in my TP9 here. I think I've got 3 or 4 rounds. Let me just grab another mag real quick and or reload this mag, and we can shoot it as quickly as possible, all 15 rounds, to show you just how much easier it is to get as many shots off on target as possible. Again, guys, we're just shooting some bulk ammo here. I've got an ammo can full of just random stuff. So speak to the reliability. We're throwing steel case in with our brass case ammo. These are mixed bullet weights, so between 115 and 147 grainers. I've got some 124 grain in this ammo can as well. So let me just go ahead and time lapse the rest of this loading, and then we'll shoot it real quick. All right, guys, so I loaded this magazine up with 15 rounds. We're going to go ahead and put it in the firearm here, show that it's clear. We're going to shoot all 15 rounds as quickly as possible just to show you guys how easy it is to stay on target and how manageable this trigger pull is with it being a striker-fired semi-automatic handgun. Now, obviously, you have to train with your firearms to make sure that you're going to be able to stay on target in a stressful situation and to know that you're able to properly utilize that firearm to its fullest ability. You can do so with a revolver, you can do so with a semi-automatic handgun, but at the end of the day, I know which one I would pick. With that being said, guys, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know. What's your preferred carry gun? Is it a Glock? Is it a SIG? Do you have a Canik? I mean, just let me know. Whether it's an SCCY or a Staccato, something is better than nothing. Even if you're just carrying this old Regent 32 Smith & Wesson snub-nose revolver, I'd much rather have an armed populace backing me up. With that being said, guys, thanks for watching. Stay wild, and we'll see you in the next video.